It's the Pete Sousa Show. Sports, Pete.
Get ready for epic savings at Best Buy. Right now, you can save up to $700 on select Alienware and Dell gaming products. Perfect for leveling up your gaming experience. Plus, grab the latest Android Google Pixel at an unbeatable price. Don't miss these incredible deals. Shop now at bestbuy.com and upgrade your tech today.
We definitely love our relationship and love Extraco. It's been an amazing experience.
They made the PPP process easier. They were reaching out to me saying, what can I do to help you? That made a huge difference because my stress level when we shut down to afterwards was night and day.
Our experience with Extraco has been phenomenal since the very beginning, so we love Extraco.
Ready to bring your vision to life? At Small Rig, every idea, design, and product is inspired by you, the creator. With our industry-first under co-design mode and the Dream Rig free customization project, we unite with global creators to turn big dreams into reality. Whether it's a cage rig or mount, Small Rig's versatile gear is built to elevate your craft. Small Rig, where your creativity meets our innovation. Go to smallrig.com.
At Rolls Rolla, we don't just sell wallpaper, we create cohesive, cozy spaces. Our deep understanding of design means every pattern, color, and texture is carefully chosen to complement your home. Plus, we use advanced technology and water-based inks for vibrant, eco-friendly prints, ensuring a healthier environment. Visit rollsrolla.com to transform your space today. That's ROLLSROLLA.com today. At 25 Home, our ultimate goal is to provide you with a transformative experience, making each day feel like it has an extra hour. We believe your home is more than just a space, it's a sanctuary where comfort, relaxation, and happiness thrive. Discover the difference at 25 Home today. Shop now at 25home.com.
It is the Pete Sousa Show. Happy New Year to everybody. It is January. Let me see for sure. January 2nd. Man, the holidays have been a blur. I don't know about you guys, but for me, I do much better with just like a regimented sequence of events every day. Like even when you're working in sports, you're still kind of all over the place, but give me too much free time. And I don't know, my brain is just like all over the place. And it's been a good all over the place because I've been lucky enough to be calling a lot of games myself, hoops, obviously a lot of Big 12, watching so much football. Yesterday was the biggest treat. First, we'll go backwards a little bit. No surprise for the Fiesta Bowl. I was actually surprised Boise State kept it as close as they did, but Penn State, they were just way better. But on the heels of that, I saw coming into, first of all, I had Christy, she's in town for New Year's Day, right? This is so difficult being, and fellow sports people can relate, and sports fans can relate. You don't have to be somebody who's employed to do this stuff. It's very important for me to watch the Arizona State game yesterday, right? But the love of my life is in town with her children, one of her children's friends. Like, honestly, and I would tell you guys the truth. I would. I swear I would. Or I would at least tell Zach and Scotty when nobody else was around. But I love these kids. I love hanging with them, whatever. But at the end of the day, like, I got to watch this game. And I really had to be careful with my delivery of the message that, like, this is something that has to happen. Me watching Arizona State play Texas. And everybody's real supportive, right? But they're trying to do their own thing. But then it's kind of like you feel foolish because now your whole reason for watching is getting completely destroyed. Like you want to watch. First of all, I like Texas just because it's up the road and Texas football is rich with tradition. It's kind of like the same reason I like the Cowboys and the Yankees. I just feel like when they're part of the mix, it's pretty exciting. So yesterday it was exciting. It was Texas, the haves, and then Arizona State, maybe the have-nots. But I really felt I didn't feel great, even though I picked Arizona State to win their first round game after having the bye. But I after seeing some of these teams, like, and again, I don't want to pick on Boise State, but like Penn State was just everywhere. It's really hard, no matter how good you are as a running back, like Ashton Genty, if there's 11 dudes on the other side of the ball who are just like phenomenal athletes and everywhere you turn, they're there, it's going to be tough. So early on in the Arizona State game, now I'm like, I got people, nobody's looking at me. Nobody cares really, but this is how I feel. People are like, dude, why are we waiting for this guy to finish watching this game? Arizona State's getting they're getting crushed. And your boy Skattebo, by the way, I got the jersey over there on the other side of the room, he's just not, he can't handle Texas, right? That's what it seemed like, at least early on. And then it happened. And this is why the celebration of college football and sports is just the greatest thing on earth. First of all, I'm watching this game. Christy and her kids are like in and out. They understand like it's time to do our own thing. This dude's not moving. I'm watching the game jumping up and down when Aubrey missed the second field goal. I just want to see more football, and I love that a representative of the Big 12 was doing so well. And the Cam Skattebo stuff was out of this world. We got Roy Philpott from ESPN. He called Baylor's bowl game against LSU, but he was tweeting about Cam Skattebo yesterday. Roy has called games for ESPN for over a decade now. Big time college football, big time college basketball, and whatever else we're lucky enough to have him do. But Roy's tweeting about Cam Skattebo, and for me, Cam Skattebo was on display for the entire nation. But I think for us, close to the Big 12, and just closer to Arizona State, you felt like he was our secret. And then the secret was out, dude, yesterday afternoon. And it was so much fun. I want to get Roy's opinion on this in a little bit. The targeting call, and again, like something happened, and this always happens with sports, but I became invested, very invested in that game and Arizona State having an opportunity to advance and play in the semifinals, to the point where you start to go a little crazy, right? And this happens to fans. That's why I always say it. Fan is short for fanatic. Like that targeting call, I mean, right away I was like, whoa, like if that is not targeting, like what is targeting? Like Gene Steratore was tweeting, yes, that was targeting. Like, so then like there's a break. It's not like this is happening like live in front of the officials. Like everybody gets a chance to take a breath. Let's look at the video. We know what the rule is. Wait a minute, that's not targeting? Again, like if that's not targeting, then what is targeting? Then immediately I start to go insane. And I'm like out loud speaking to no one in particular. This is they want Texas in. They want Texas in. Like I go into that like bunker mentality, right? Like all alone, where I'm just like staring at the ceiling, yelling, get off my lawn. Look, man, the call was what it was. That's not why Arizona State lost. And certainly Texas wouldn't have lost because Aubrey missing those 2 kicks. It was a body of work, and it was amazing. The game was amazing, and congratulations to Texas. I even had the momentum shift was so amazing, right? There was a point in time early in the game when I think Arizona State, like, they needed a first down in the first half badly, to the point where I felt like if they didn't get a first down, they were going to get blown out. The game was slipping away. And they had the out pattern, and they got the first down. This is late in the first quarter, early in the second. And you're like, okay, here we go. But you go from a situation to where you're clinging to life in the first half, to where I was like, I'm like, I'm going to feel bad for Sark when he loses, because Texas fans are insane and they're going to blow him up and say he should get fired. And there was a point where I was like, Jesus, even in the back of my mind, like, the actually smarter version of me that gets a little analytical was like, is he getting out coached? And I don't think he was, but you didn't really hear much from Texas after early in the game. If you look at the numbers, Arizona State blew them off the page. Like, statistically, Arizona State should have won that football game. They did not. The ball bounced the other way. And it was a bummer. But I was one other thing I was super impressed with, low key, was Sam Levitt. And what impressed me the most about this Michigan State transfer, redshirt freshman, is that he minimized his mistakes. He wasn't out there playing hero ball, trying to do too much. The fact that he was able to take care of the football, and there weren't any like fireworks or big time missteps when they needed to secure the ball and maybe move the ball, that was really impressive, because, again, you could compare what Arizona State was facing to what Boise State had faced the night before. And I think this overall speaks to my body of work. The Big 12 is just a better conference. They just have better players. And the best team in the Big 12 is going to be better than the best team in the Mountain West 9 times out of 10. I'm not saying like outliers don't happen. And I never say never. There's a gray area in sports, but I wasn't shocked to see what happened to Boise State, what happened to them. But then the next morning or the next day, I was like, wow, this potentially could happen to Arizona State as well. But they went toe-to-toe with one of the biggest monsters in college football, on the heels of a lot of people talking a lot of nonsense like we all do, who should have been in, who should have been out. Did Arizona State deserve the bye? And they really showed out. And again, you didn't win. I don't believe either you talk about, like Arizona State was playing with house money this year. I don't buy that at all. Like, it's way too competitive. Sports are. So like, if you have your opportunity or you're knocking on the door, like, go ask Dan Marino about that. Like, his second year as a starter in the NFL, he has those 48 touchdowns. The guy's 23, and he goes to play the 49ers in the Super Bowl, and they lose against Joe Montana and one of the better organizations and franchises of all time. Like, everybody and their mother at the time thought, well, Dan Marino, he might win 2 or 3 Super Bowls. Dude never went back. Like, that's how fleeting championships are and great success. So I don't know what's going to come of Arizona State now. I truly don't. It's really hard to capitalize on these moments. And next year, there's a target on your back and things change and other teams improve. It'll be really interesting to see how they do and how Kenny Dillingham moves forward. Amazing coach, amazing year, amazing ride. Man, what a game. But that was what sports are all about. And it came on, and I'll say this briefly, we'll get to Roy in a second. It came on the field of some or on the heels of some asshole driving a car into a bunch of people, overnight before in New Orleans, which, postpones the Sugar Bowl. We're going to be able to have that happen this afternoon, 3:00 Central Time. I want to get Roy's take on that, exactly who he thinks has the advantage. But I was even personally sort of reeling from that news. It's just like, gosh, it just sucked. You can't, I don't want to make it about me. Like, 15 people died, and like, it's just such an awful situation. But I was demoralized. I was kind of heartbroken, like, oh man. And, sports, again, is a celebration, and it's not going to bring those 15 people back, and it's not going to take away any of the pain to the people in the city of New Orleans. But we did get a chance to kind of lose ourselves in that Arizona State game. which was pretty cool. It's just what a celebration sports are. Sports are awesome, dude. I was jumping up and down in where I live at my home yesterday by myself. I'm kind of old to be doing that, but nonetheless, dude, it was a lot of fun. I'm excited for Notre Dame and Georgia today. I have no idea who's going to win. Let's see. Let's check on the number real quick. The spread on that game. Wow, 1.5 points. So Notre Dame's 1.5 point. That's because you got Stetson Bennett out for, or Carson Beck. Sorry, Stetson Bennett. Carson Beck is out for Georgia. So a lot will be revealed a few hours from now, and there's so much to get to. We're going to talk to Roy a little bit about his experience covering Baylor, also what he thought about, what he thinks about this game this afternoon, and I also want to get his take on Cam Skattebo. But a lot of good stuff happening in the world of sports, and very happy to be back in studio with you guys here. The Pete Sousa Show, powered by the Rogue Media Network, and we can't forget about Slovagics, right? We can't forget about all these sponsors right here. Secora Family Ford, we were out there. D1, First National Bank of Central Texas. Dan Ingham's going to be back for his regular spot next Thursday. We will be back with Roy Philpot after this.
Nobody tells our stories better than our clients.
The difference is stark. I was rear-ended at a stop. I thought I was fine, and then once I got home, I realized it's a lot worse than I thought. I ended up having a ruptured disc. You say you're not hurting, and then an hour later, you're saying you're in all this pain. I just felt like most people would think that I was lying. That's when I decided to call Daniel Stark. I owe a lot to Daniel Stark. They really got me what I deserved.
The difference is stark.
We definitely love our relationship and love Extraco. It's been an amazing experience.
They made the PPP process easier. They were reaching out to me saying, what can I do to help you? That made a huge difference because my stress level, when we shut down, to afterwards was night and day.
Our experience with Extraco has been phenomenal since the very beginning, so we love Extraco.
At Acasis, innovation drives us. Since 2008, we've been creating cutting-edge technology products that make your life easier. With a focus on performance, design, and customer service, we're here to help you work smarter, not harder. Join us on our journey to simplify your world. Visit acasis.com today. That's ACASIS.com today. Unlock a world of convenience with Mully Box, your one-stop solution for personalized subscription boxes delivered right to your door. From gourmet snacks to unique finds, each box is tailored to your taste. Experience the joy of surprises. Subscribe today at mullybox.com. That's MULLYBOX.com. Transform your workspace with Hanomi Ergonomics. From adjustable chairs to standing desks, we provide solutions for comfort and productivity, whether at home or in the office. Improve your posture, reduce strain, and work smarter. Visit us at hanomi.co today. That's HINOMI.co today. Unlock your full potential with Onnit, your go-to for premium supplements, fitness gear, and wellness essentials. Whether you're training hard, recovering faster, or just looking to feel your best, Onnit has the tools you need to perform at your peak. Visit Onnit, that's ONNIT.com, and elevate your mind, body, and spirit today. Get paid faster with Bill, the easiest way to send, receive, and manage your payments. No more delays, no more hassle. Whether you're a freelancer or a business, Bill makes payments seamless and secure, simple, fast, and reliable. Sign up today at Bill.com.
Sports.
Big dog.
Roy.
What's up, buddy?
There he is, Roy Philpott.
What's up, my man?
Now, you know my good buddy Ed Svita. He always refers to our relationship, me and you, as SHIT or get off the Philpott. Did you know that? Hold on, I lost you. You there, Roy?
Yeah, you got me?
Yeah, I got you. Did you know that?
No, I did not. I had no idea.
It comes back to my severe and incredible loyalty to you. Years ago during COVID, Eddie was like, "Hey, there's a Saturday night package. I think we can get you on." I was like, "I'm with Philpott, dude." I'm like, "That's
nice.
it." Yes. So he would always mess with me. He was like, "I love your loyalty. Shit or get off the Philpott." I was like, "I'm on the Philpott, dude."
Dude, no, I had no idea. That's fantastic.
Well, you're one of my heroes in the biz, and I consider you a good friend. So I appreciate you taking the time to stop by today. And I want to get into it right away because your time is precious, and I know you're going to be locked in on Georgia and Notre Dame today. Obviously, it goes without saying, right? What happened yesterday or overnight into yesterday is absolutely awful, but football will be played this afternoon. And it was a nice reminder, by the way, yesterday afternoon, the celebration of what the sport can be, right? That Arizona State game was amazing. But that Sugar Bowl today, who do you like in that game, Roy? Georgia, the quarterback situation is one that I'm having trouble parsing through. I feel like I know who Notre Dame is. What do you know?
I'm sorry, I accidentally hit mute. My bad. Can you hear me now?
Philpott. Okay, but you heard the question, right?
Yeah, I heard the question.
Okay.
I like Notre Dame, and I like Notre Dame because of Riley Leonard. And I like Notre Dame because Marcus Freeman, after that upset loss to NIU back in week 2, I guess it was, before every game, showed his team clips of the end of that upset setback. And so there's been a certain level of motivation since that week 2 loss for Notre Dame that has inspired them. We've seen them, I think, overcome tremendous odds and adversity mentally as a result of that. Marcus Freeman was under a lot of heat right after that loss because they had a couple of upset losses, Marshall and Stanford way back in his first year. They found it. They found the mojo. And then, Pete, you hit the nail on the head with the quarterback situation at Georgia. Gunnar Stockton in, Carson Beck out. I was never as high on Carson Beck as the rest of America. I never thought he was going to be the number 1 overall pick in this year's draft. He was good, but not great. And so I maintain that. But at this level, and you're got a guy that's getting ready to make his first start, I've got questions about it. So Notre Dame, it's physicality. Notre Dame, it's motivation. Georgia, with no Carson Beck, not quite as talented as what it has been when it's won 2 of the last 3 titles. I think Notre Dame finds a way, man. I just feel like it's their year, their season. I don't know how the postponement of the game impacts any of that, but I like the Golden Domers today against the Dogs for sure.
Yeah, this is a guy from the South too. I like that, Roy. I appreciate the being impartial. When a lot of this Georgia Notre Dame they're on the same level, right? With like the X's and O's, Jimmys and Joes. I feel like they got the Jimmys and Joes on both sides of the ball. What have you thought about some of these conference battles? You know, even yesterday, when you look at the Pac or the Big 12 against the SEC in Texas and Arizona State, or the night before, Penn State taking on Boise State. Have you been surprised by some of the parity, or has it gone the way you thought it would? I do feel like with the portal, something's happening here parity-wise, where these teams just aren't getting run off the field. Like the kid that I grew up watching, right? Like a Boise State and a Penn State, that just doesn't exist. Even when West Virginia went to the Fiesta Bowl and played Penn State in 1988, you knew, or Notre Dame, I'm sorry, you knew it was going to be all Notre Dame. I feel like we are heading towards some parity. What are your thoughts about that?
Yeah, I mean, to see Arizona State, Boise State, SMU, all reach the new 12-team playoffs. Yeah, I think from that side of the equation, we've seen it. It feels like the dominant runs by Alabama, by Clemson, maybe with what's happened with Georgia. Let's wait and see how this playoff unfolds. That maybe the era of those teams stockpiling talent has faded a little bit, but you look at Ohio State and all the money they spent on its roster and the beatdown they put on Oregon, last night. Overcoming a 2-loss regular season, including that 1-point loss at Oregon. I don't know. So I think, I still want to see how the playoff data points end up, because I think the regular season pointed to not as many super teams, or maybe not this one dominant force or two in college football. But if we get to a championship and it's sitting there with Ohio State, Notre Dame, or something, along those lines, is that really the case? So I'm not sure. I did want to see if Arizona State could find a way yesterday to kind of continue the narrative that you and I are talking about. They did. Texas did on 4th and 13 and a double overtime. So I need more intel, and I want to take a look at the entire season and postseason before we arrive at that conclusion. But there were points in the regular season that certainly support that argument. See what happens here in the postseason, because I don't know. I'm not sure just yet.
One of the things that I want to get your take on is just being a play-by-play guy, right? Getting ready for some of these bigger bowl games in this new climate. I tell people, really, I'm fortunate enough to be calling games now, and I learned just standing next to you, right? Like for all those years, and just whether it was learning from you in particular or just the environment around you, right? Being up in the booth, spotting. Yesterday was so interesting when they go to Matt Austin, who you went to a couple times the day before during your Texas Bowl with Baylor and LSU, but that hit late in the game that was a possible targeting. I could not believe they did not call targeting. Insanity took over my brain, right? For the short time, I was like, oh, they want Texas in, which I truly don't believe that when I take a breath. How do you handle that, though, when you're on the call, when something clearly looks like a targeting penalty, but it's not, and it's not like it happened during, when bullets were flying in live play? They got a chance to take time and take another look at that.
My biggest issue is with targeting in general. So, I mean, I've had games, and Pete, I know you've had games where there's a call on the field, it goes to replay review, and the booth thinks one thing in terms of the announcers, and the replay booth ends up going down a different path. And you're left with the dilemma. Okay, who's right here? And then how do we frame this on the broadcast? And there is no easy way to do that, because look, I've been on all sides of the equation where we projected one thing, the replay booth went with another, and we were wrong. And then we projected one thing, the booth went with another, and they are wrong. And then they've gotten it wrong on the field, and they didn't go to replay. So, I mean, I've experienced it from both sides. You just try to be diplomatic, because unless you've been in the replay booth and been under the time crunch, the constraint of coming up with the right call with so much at stake, it's hard to replicate. So it was a couple of years ago. We went up to the replay clinic in Chicago during one of the off seasons, and they actually put us up on stage, gave us a real-time replay to go through, and the timer's on. And you got to come up with a decision. And let me tell you, when that clock is on and you're trying to figure it out, and you feel the pressure of humanity waiting on your call, waiting to see what's happening, waiting to hear what your verdict is, not easy. And it's
so they had you guys as like the play-by-play, as the talent.
Oh, yeah.
They put you through what the officials go through.
Damn right they did. They did. And it offers an entirely new perspective. And so then I equate that to what is that like in a targeting penalty? The real issue here is targeting, because that call, I agree with you and the rest of society, it looked like targeting. There was a launch, defenseless player, contact in the head or neck area. All the different boxes were checked. But there's this subjective idea of the forceful contact and just watching a play develop. It always falls under the category of, okay, is this really something that should be penalized? And so I think that's how that call was not deemed targeting. And because it wasn't originally on the field, it was a replay booth initiated deal, that they didn't want to overturn the call on the field because of that subjective component of it. So it needs to be revisited again in the offseason with the rule changes. And we just have to come up with a more concrete way and a more black and white component of what this penalty is. Because when I'm calling a game and we get to it, look, I've been down the road. Hey, checks all the boxes. That's targeting. It's not. Well, what are we doing?
Yeah.
If that's not targeting, if that penalty yesterday that wasn't called in a critical moment wasn't targeting, of course it was. So the rules have to be analyzed, and we've got to find a way to get to a point to where we either just get rid of it or we specify it so implicitly and so directly that it removes, all ambiguity. And look, it's not easy. And if it was, they would have already done it. So I understand that component too. It's a very, very slippery slope to talk about and to try to analyze in real time. And, we saw it again firsthand yesterday. We got to find a way to clarify the rule more than what it currently is. We have to.
Other things that we're seeing develop real time in front of us, you encounter now, particularly in bowl season, is like who's opting out, who's going to play. How does that change? And I know how you prep. You're going to prep 100 miles an hour, 24 hours a day, regardless. But how does it change the way that you approach the games when you're talking to coaches? I mean, is it something you ask, hey, are these guys going to play? Or, I mean, that's because I've never called a big bowl game like that. Navigating that just seems like it's really tough sledding, dude.
Well, I'm not a guy as a play-by-play person. I don't sit down with the coach and say, go over your 2-deep depth chart and give me something here on every single player. But in a situation like bowl prep, I mean, that was one of our first questions. That was the first question to Brian Kelly in our sit-down this weekend with Dave Aranda at LSU and Baylor, respectively. This is what's being reported. Your 5 guys, 155 combined receptions are out on offense because of opt-outs, the NFL portal, what have you. Can you confirm that for us? Who's stepping in? And the thing I'm most curious about is, okay, where is the production leaning with these guys out so that you have an idea? And the way I ask the question is, we're calling the game. If you give us an idea of what's happening, we're able to better prepare for a guy that hasn't caught a lot of passes this year, maybe having a huge kind of coming out party. So, in bowl season, it's different because guys are going to be out, and probably some guys that haven't been reported are not playing for whatever reason, and you do have to get pretty specific. And that part is definitely a little different. But, and then you prepare as normal after that. So once you have a working knowledge of who's in, who's out, then you just proceed, I think, how you normally do.
All right, a couple more for you before I let you get out of here. What most impressed you about the Baylor football team? I mean, I know they lost, but the turnaround this season was something certainly that was noteworthy. Coach Aranda, different type of guy. What impressed you about the program overall?
I love Dave. I love talking with Dave, and we talked with him late Monday nights before the bowl game and had an incredible conversation with him. And what impressed me most about Baylor, I mean, outside of the obvious with the season that Bryson Washington had, what Sawyer Robertson did after the bye week, they're focused more on the air raid concepts, the final 6 games to kind of accentuate his strengths and what he was most comfortable with. What impressed me the most was Dave Aranda, because what's happened with Dave Aranda is this. He comes to Waco. He's got a talented roster with players recruited by Matt Rule. They're able to win right away. And you're thinking, okay, this is great. This is exactly what we were hoping for. He's not calling ball plays on defense necessarily, but he's got his hand in the pot. He understands what's going on. He knows how to, keep the continuity going. Well, then adversity struck. And for about 2, maybe 2.5 years, Baylor wasn't very good. And he realized that. And I think he realized it last offseason. And so what he did is he said, okay, what happened and where did we fall short? And they fell short by bringing in players that were good, but probably didn't have the kind of dog in them that they needed to win the Big 12, to go on a 6-game winning streak to close down the year. So let's bring in some guys who got a little bit more swagger. We know what we're looking for in terms of talent. We know what we're looking for in terms of football IQ. We need to hit the portal and bring in some guys that just don't care about things and want to get down and dirty when they need to. And so the roster got tougher, Pete, and it got tougher. It got more mentally disciplined, I think, with some of the guys they brought in. They brought in some guys that had a little more swagger and had a little bit more juice. And the end result is this roster this year always had talent. It took them a little bit of time to kind of get their feet underneath them with Jake Spavital calling plays. But they had a little bit more of a nastier instinct. And I think that started to show up in the road win at Texas Tech. Coming off the bye week, they entered dark times. It wasn't a great start. It was 2-4. How do we get better? They did, and then they got their swagger back. And then Bryson Washington rushes for 4 touchdowns against TCU. Then Sawyer Robertson figures out the offense and what Jake Spavital, the quarterback whisperer, wants to do. What impressed me the most about Baylor is Dave Aranda figuring this thing out. And I think he has the ingredients. And I think he has the blueprint now after what happened this season. Plus the guys are going to be back next year. I mean, Bryson Washington, redshirt freshman. Sawyer Robertson, redshirt junior. Like, their best football is still ahead of him. And I think he figured it out as well in the offensive line about the middle part of the season, carry all that over into next year. And I think they know what they're doing. And I think they feel like they've uncovered the cheat code that they were in search of in kind of 2 down years there. So my expectations for Baylor football next year, extremely high. And in the Big 12, you're going to see a ton. You have to deal with a lot. The motions on offense, the different systems being employed from, BYU to Colorado to K-State to KU, all across the board. They've got a better understanding of how to deal with these teams. Don't believe me, go back and watch the regular season finale against Kansas. Kansas was playing some great football at the end of the year. Baylor handed it to them. As impressive as a win in the conference, I think that we can talk about from a Baylor perspective in the last 3 years. So Dave Aranda, I think, is he's here to stay. I think he's learned some lessons post LSU, and I think they're ready for launch and for a relaunch in 2025. I believe that, and especially with the staff that he has. Very impressed with those guys.
Love it. All right, last question for you. You've been all the way back, I think, well, didn't you were a season ticket kid, right, at South Carolina. Is that right, growing up?
I grew up in Columbia, and my first football game was at South Carolina. It was, even though I ended up going to Clemson. Yeah.
So you Clemson dude, right? I mean, you basically start a whole new way to cover college sports when you're at Clemson, and then you end up calling big-time college football, up to the present day. You've had real good relationships with coaches throughout you've had good access to coaches, I should say, over the course of your life. What has changed about the delivery and the demeanor of coaches that you would find most notable over the course of the past decade, because things have just changed so rapidly? What has changed the most, do you think, about coaches and how they approach it?
That's a good question. I've never been asked that. So thinking in real time, my one observation would be this. A lot of times these guys and these women, because I call a lot of women's college basketball too.
Yeah.
They need someone to talk to. And what I mean by that is it has changed so much in just the last 3 years, to where you've gone from being a head coach to now managing a roster and a payment structure on said roster. And you're having to be a CEO, a general manager, a psychologist, a guy that is a liaison between players, agents, families, girlfriends. The role of the head coach has changed so much that sometimes these guys, they just need to vent. Hey, you're not going to believe what we're dealing with here. This is what's going on. My job has changed so much. And so there's stories in that. There's stories that we can tell as broadcasters on air in that. Now, some of it's off the record.
Yeah.
But when you get a coach going, sometimes they'll launch into these things that you just never thought were possible in collegiate athletics. And yet here we are. It's to the point, Pete, where it's not college athletics. And if that's what you think it is, then we're talking about teams that are playing at the FCS level. No offense. I enjoy calling those games too. It's become professional sports at college football, men's basketball, and women's basketball. Like those 3 sports in particular, and probably baseball and softball are right there too. And we're getting close to that. I mean, even volleyball. I've heard deals for volleyball players, the top players in the sport, commanding nearly $500,000.
That is unbelievable.
That is where we are.
Yeah.
And that's just where we are now. 5 years from now, it could be a lot more than that. So it's not amateur athletics. And you know what? It never was. It hasn't been the last 30 years because of the amount of money that's involved. It's no longer amateur athletics. It's professional sports, albeit at a different level in the NFL and NBA and MLB. And so these coaches, they want to talk about it, and they want you to hear their side. And we understand how tough it is. And that's why Jim Larinaga retires in the middle of the season. That's why Tony Bennett retires right before the start of the season. That's why Nick Saban stepped away to go into TV, because it's a lot. And it's not what a lot of these people signed up to do when they got into coaching. It's all about relationships. It was all about, building and growing young minds, and the maturation process for these boys and girls to grow up to be men and women and high-producing members of society. Now, it's about a paycheck. Yeah. Now it's about your social media influence. Now it's about all the things that it's been about at the pro level. So that component, I think, has changed our meetings as much as anything, is building, maintaining, keeping a roster, and figuring out a way financially to make it all work.
Philpott, dude, great stuff. Everybody needs somebody to talk to, even these big-time coaches. Today, we got to talk to Roy Philpott. Yes. Philly, you're the man, dude.
Yeah, you got it. Thanks, Pete.
Thanks, bro. I appreciate it, dude.
You got it, man.
Oh, that was Roy Philpott, and that was awesome. The Pete Sousa Show, powered by the Rogue Media Network, presented by Slovaceks, rolls on after this.
Farmhounds offers natural treats and chews made with quality products that support family farms, regenerative agriculture, and humane farming practices. Give your dog the best with wholesome, organic ingredients that promote health and happiness. Shop now at farmhounds.com.
Overwhelmed by your inbox? Clean Email is here to help. Organize, clean, and manage your emails with powerful automation tools. Say goodbye to spam and clutter and enjoy a stress-free inbox. Try Clean Email today at cleanemail.com. That's CLEAN email.com. Protect your online privacy with NordVPN. Browse securely, access content from anywhere, and keep your data safe with military-grade encryption. Whether at home or on the go, NordVPN ensures your digital freedom. Stay secure. Download NordVPN today at nordvpn.com. That's NORDVPN.com. Want to turn your passion into profit? With Blogify, creating a blog has never been easier. Build, customize, and grow your site with powerful tools designed for beginners and pros alike. Start sharing your story today and watch your audience grow with Blogify. Download Blogify now in the App Store. Easy Sun has been living fearlessly under the sun since 2016. Born from sailors' need for convenient sun protection, our mineral sunscreen is crafted with natural ingredients offering broad spectrum protection against UVA and UVB rays. Safe for your skin and the environment, stay protected on the go with Easy Sun, your ultimate sun care solution. Visit EasySun.com today. That's EEZYSUN.com. Stay connected no matter where you are with eSIM-X. Say goodbye to expensive roaming charges and physical SIM cards. With access to over 200 global carriers, we make mobile connectivity seamless and affordable for travelers worldwide. Join the future of communication today at eSIMX.com. That's ESIMX.com. At Tusain's, we understand that maintaining a healthy lifestyle can be challenging, especially in today's fast-paced world. That's why our mission is to make fitness accessible to everyone, anywhere. Committed to excellence, we adopt a user-centric approach guided by ergonomics and medical science. With a team of seasoned professionals in R&D, design, and manufacturing, we prioritize quality across our entire product line. Visit Tusains.com today and start your journey to better health. That's TOUSAINS.com. Protect your car with 3W Liners all-weather floor mats. Made from durable materials like TPE and rubber, our mats are designed to withstand rain, snow, and mud with deep grooves to trap dirt and liquids. For a custom fit and advanced protection, visit 3W Liners. That's the number 3, WLINERS.com today.
Sports.
Yo, how about my boy Philpott? Unbelievable. More than you really could have bargained for. And I'm the Roy Philpot fan club is run by yours truly, but I think there's a lot of other card carrying members out there. Roy is one of those guys who has just done such an amazing job of calling games for so long. When you hear his voice show up in your living room or on your screen or device or whatever, you know you're in good shape. So one thing I wanted to, or a couple things I wanted to mention about before we get out of here in the final segment, I'm headed over to tape the Big 12 show that we do here in Central Texas. It's me and King McClure, and King and I, of course, now it's a weekly show, and it's supposed to have shifted to basketball. But when you have a performance like Cam Skattebo had yesterday, we're going to go heavy football in the beginning, and then we're going to go basketball. And I want to go live right now. Kind of random. So there's something on Hulu. I wanted to like decompress last night. The Oregon-Ohio State game was what it was. I was all footballed out. And I do want to say at some point I turned to someone over the course of this break. There was like another full slate of football games on. There actually wasn't a break. I can tell you we were all working, especially around here at Rogue. But I think I was somewhere for a basketball game, and it was in a full slate of football. And I was like, how much of this do people need? I even said that, and I can never get enough football. But so we've been inundated by a great brand of football. Some games obviously better than others. And there's a show on Hulu about Vogue fashion and Anna Wintour. It's called Watch in Vogue, the 90s streaming online. But it's called In Vogue the 90s. And I was so taken aback by this one story. Like we hear today, people, they don't like athletes, famous people, anybody that really has a brand or you're notable, right? Like big time. We're talking big time notoriety. And you'll understand what I'm talking about when I get into this story. But people have their own way of getting out things into the public now, whether it's their own social media, whether it is their own podcast. It's just become a different medium, or there are so many different mediums, I should say, for athletes to get their messages out. And old school people like me, I used to love, I grew up watching the Sixers and reading Phil Jasner. He's a great example of just a beat writer who just did everything to bring the most important and nuanced details of what was going on with the Philadelphia 76ers day in and day out into the Philadelphia Daily News, and ultimately home to me as a little kid reading, what exactly was happening with Charles Barkley or why in the world John Lucas was the Sixers coach, and it was a lot of it was all sourced up. Phil wasn't big on opinions. And certainly when he was, beat writer, and he was fair with athletes and covering them. But there's certain situations, whether it was a sports journalist or whether it was an interview, a person who maybe it was Barbara Walters, right? In this case, it was a writer from, I think it was Vogue. And if you want to know why people don't talk to, or why they struggle, like talking to journalists and doing big feature pieces, like here was a reminder for me. So this woman, Linda Evangelista, was one of the supermodels of the 1990s, like, epic star. But she's a young supermodel, right? Like she agrees to do this cover shoot with Vogue, or it was an article on Vogue around a shoot. I don't even know if it was on the cover. She was certainly on the cover of Vogue a handful of times, and she was one of the best of all times if you're into that kind of thing, supermodels. She was in the George Michael video. She was like the central figure of that George Michael video, which was, I had a ton of supermodels in them, or at least 4 or 5 of the best of all time. And So she agrees to do this interview. She shows up to the interview place. The photographer and the writer there. What do? They just drink vodka for most of the day. She orders like 2 pieces of cake, no other food. They do the shoot, they do the story, but like she's boozing it up a little bit. And the writer asks her at some point, "Hey, like, what do you guys make?" And now she's kind of drunk. She's clearly formed a partnership with this, like an agreement, you would think, with this writer. And she's like, "Oh, dude, we don't get out of bed for less than $10,000, which at the time, $10,000, $10,000 then would be like 25 grand is today. I actually looked it up, so you can thank me for that. And she says that, and the guy puts it in the story. So it goes to like Anna Wintour, right? Like the editor of Vogue. And she's like, "Dude, I think we should probably take this last line out. Like it kind of makes her look like a complete bitch." And that's not who she is, really. Like Anna Wintour had known her. And the guy was like, "No way. This is the best part of the story. If you want me to write this story for Vogue, like we're keeping that part in there. We don't get out of bed for less than $10,000. We're in the middle in the 90s at that point in time, like of a recession. People are just happy to have jobs. A lot of people don't have jobs, and a lot of people don't have money. So this ends up in Vogue and ultimately ends up like just crushing this woman. Like she is, in these circles. I mean, most people have forgotten about Linda Evangelista, but she had an amazing career. But her legacy has been tarnished by this piece, right? And it's like, and I thought to myself, like, God, like, no wonder people don't like journalists, and no wonder now in an environment where folks can have their own vehicle to share their stories and what they're about. Why would you sit down for an interview with someone who could burn you like that? And, whether she said it, right? But I mean, even the writer was like, yeah, it was said in a context of so many other things. And it just, I thought to myself, wow, what a bummer. And yeah, like the next time I start to get uptight about guys doing media or women doing media, and I wish they'd be more revealing, like, well, there's your reason why they don't, or a reason, an excuse at least, as to why they should probably do their own things. 2024 wrapping up. First of all, I'm not a fan of Clay Travis. He shows up on my social media feed every so often. I find him compelling, but I mean, like, I certainly don't subscribe to all his opinions, that's for sure. But he did a top 5 about the most searched terms on pornographic websites. Like, what are people into? It is like, search it yourself. Like, I would not ever put that on this show. But it was the top searched terms on a certain pornography website of 2024. And it was, I found it to be funny, but it's not something I want to talk about on this show. But then that got me to think, okay, how about some of the most searched terms of 2024? The global trending overall searches, top of 2024. This makes me feel like, wow, I'm kind of out of touch. But also is like, in America, I am so a prisoner of the moment of the sports that we have here, right? Whether it's college football, the NBA, the NFL, Major League Baseball, college basketball. But the top 4 searches, this is globally now, not just sports. Number 1, the most Googled search, Copa America. That was number 1. Number 2 was UEFA European Championship. Number 3 was the ICC Men's T20 World Cup. I got to be honest with you. I'm going to be totally honest with you. Those first 3 sports, I'm not quite sure what they are. What's the Copa, Zach? Soccer. UEFA is soccer. And the third is soccer as well. So it's 3 soccer events. Okay, I had a hunch. And then 4th is India versus England. That's got to be soccer as well, right? It just says India versus England. Okay. Yeah, could be cricket. Number 5, and this was a shocker to me, God rest his soul, was Liam Payne. Number 5, search globally. And so then, but here's the top, here's the number 1 entertainment. All right. The top entertainment search in the world, Google, Cat Williams. I mean, Club Shay Shay and the Cat Williams appearance, I mean, literally ran roughshod through 2024. And that's just amazing how, like, to me, I don't even know if you use the term anymore, but that's like the definition of what was once known, or maybe still is known as viral. That Cat Williams had really not been heard of much, if at all, until that appearance on Shannon Sharp's podcast, Club Shay Shay. And he just went scorched earth on a lot of the entertainment industry. So I found that to be interesting. Some of the other trending searches, obviously the election was a big one. Anything else interest me here before we go? Because we got to go. Here you go. I did find this cool. For sports, returning Mike Tyson was the second most searched athlete globally behind this karate champion from Algeria. But Mike Tyson, how about that? We love Mike Tyson. He was back this year. And we will be back tomorrow. I'm going to be on the road, but we'll have our picks with Corey. We'll have everything else that's going on. I'll be in Utah for a basketball game there. I had a Baylor game. I had a game at Arizona. The guy Caleb Love is amazing. He's so fast. As he goes, so will go Arizona. It's at least the impression I got. They beat TCU. Caleb Lohner and Miro Little were both back in town for Baylor's game against Utah on Tuesday. And Utah got smoked. Baylor looks really good. I will say this. I should have led with it. So I got a chance to talk to Coach Scott Drew with the coverage I was doing. And it was after the game, and Baylor had blown him out. This was Utah. And I said, okay, well, now you got that done. Your first game is coming up on the road in the Big 12, and you're in Ames. Like, you've got a whole new team now. As much as, there's a culture around Baylor. Every year it's new players, no matter where you are, because of the climate of basketball. Will your players, coach, and I wasn't quite asking him like this, but I was like, will you guys be ready to play in Ames? I was like, how do you get them prepared? And he was like, you dope. Why do you think we played at Gonzaga? Why do you think we played at UConn? He's like, that's what we do to get them ready. At which point I laughed and followed up with another question that could quickly redirect somewhere else other than the environment that was me, and a half-baked question. But Coach Drew's the man. We had a laugh. I'm pumped to see how Baylor does this year, but that team's good, man. I mean, that win against Utah was convincing, and they just beat the brakes off Utah. And it was one of those things like Utah's not going to be great this year. They're first in the Big 12, but they got players. I mean, that's a good team. When you look at the landscape of the entire country, I don't think they're going to go to the NCAA tournament, but they're not a pushover. And Baylor really took care of business. And by the way, big time props and tip of the cap to Baylor for allowing the first 5,000 fans to enter the game free during that New Year's Eve game against Utah. And what was cool about that was, one, there is a real bridge between the community of Waco and Baylor more and more around these programs athletically that have achieved such great success. We just heard Philpott talk about Baylor football, and he's clearly high on them, and we hope that their success going forward continues. Baylor basketball forever, right? Or at least for a pretty long time. I'll tell you one thing I looked up too. But hold on, let me finish this last thought. I got 2025. I'm going to try to do better with keeping on certain thoughts. They let the first 5,000 in for free. One, because it benefited them, of course. You don't want to have your first game of conference play. You don't want nobody to be there. And the reason that they were going to have a limited crowd was because everybody was in Houston for Baylor's bowl game, literally, which kicked off at 2:30. The basketball game kicked off or started at 1. So, I mean, and I was pretty amazed looking on. I mean, I obviously didn't go to the game, but like in Houston, but like everybody, a lot of people traveled to that game, which is cool. They went to that game in Houston, the Texas Bowl, but Baylor did a nice job of getting people in the arena. They probably had about 7,000 people in Foster Pavilion. And if they didn't open the floodgates like that to let people come in, I'm not sure how many people would have come to the game. And the second thing is, I don't care what you say, you got to give Baylor props because there was no ego there. I think some Some schools, I know for a fact, would not feel comfortable saying we're letting everybody in for free because they wouldn't want to admit that they're having trouble filling the arena for the first game of the Big 12 regular season schedule. But Baylor did that. It was awesome. They had a good crowd. It was handled very well. I think if we're going to call out these universities every time they make a misstep, doesn't hurt for giving them props when they do stuff the right way. And I thought that was really cool. There was one other thing I was going to say. I forget. So maybe we can talk about that tomorrow. Yeah, man, I'm pumped. I'm excited to be back here. Pete Sousa Show rolls on tomorrow. Thanks to Zach Burke. I asked Zach about his son. He's just like so random with his answer, right? He's 2 years old, 2 months old. I'm like, Zach, how's your son? He's like, yeah, good. It's like, oh, he's good. Like, he's good. Hey, he's good. I was like, Zach, do you know where he is? He's like, yeah, he's home. All right. We'll be back tomorrow. Everybody have a great day. Happy New Year.
It's the Pete Sousa Show. Sports.
We definitely love our relationship and love Extraco. It's been an amazing experience.
They made the PPP process easier. They were reaching out to me saying, what can I do to help you? That made a huge difference because my stress level, when we shut down, to afterwards was night and day.
Our experience with Extraco has been phenomenal since the very beginning, so we love Extraco.
Nobody tells our stories better than our clients.
The difference is stark. I was rear-ended at 70 miles an hour. I was injured, had a concussion. The insurance company, they delayed. They were playing games from the initial conversation. They weren't going to help me. The biggest thing I learned through this is that you can't go through this alone. I called Daniel Stark. They were going to help me and everything was going to be all right. Daniel Stark got me 10 times the insurance company offered.
The difference is stark.
Experience the future of secure private cloud storage with Internex. Protect your files with end-to-end encryption, ensuring your data stays private and accessible only to you. Enjoy seamless, fast storage without compromising security. Visit Internext.com today and take control of your digital life. That's INTERNXT.com today. Protect your online privacy with NordVPN. Browse securely, access content from anywhere, and keep your data safe with military-grade encryption. Whether at home or on the go, NordVPN ensures your digital freedom. Stay secure. Download NordVPN today at nordvpn.com. That's NORDVPN.com.
Farmhounds offers natural treats and chews made with quality products that support family farms, regenerative agriculture, and humane farming practices. Give your dog the best with wholesome, organic ingredients that promote health and happiness. Shop now at farmhounds.com.
Transform your workspace with Hanomi Ergonomics. From adjustable chairs to standing desks, we provide solutions for comfort and productivity, whether at home or in the office. Improve your posture, reduce strain, and work smarter. Visit us at hanomi.co today. That's HINOMI.co today. At Acasis, innovation drives us. Since 2008, we've been creating cutting-edge technology products that make your life easier. With a focus on performance, design, and customer service, we're here to help you work smarter, not harder. Join us on our journey to simplify your world. Visit acasis.com today. That's ACASIS.com today. We are Rogue Media Sports.